Hey y'all, it's Kim, and it has been a while since I've done a video. Oh my my. Oh my my, it has. And I really wanted to jump on here and not be too long. I'm trying to situate everything. I didn't want to be too long, but we have an election coming up, and there's some things that I just wanted to share from my heart, personal things, okay, that I wanted to share from my heart, and a lot of it has a lot to do with the election that is approaching very, very quickly. Actually, we're just like 20 some days away, okay, from electing a president for the next 4 years, president of the free world of the United States of America. And I'm coming from a perspective of a Christian, which is a child of God, because I believe that Jesus Christ is the Savior of the world. I believe that He was 100% God. He was also 100% man. He walked this earth. God sent Him, our Creator God sent Him to take on and bear the wrath that was due to mankind because of our transgressions against our Creator. And God, He is a holy God. He hates sin. He absolutely hates sin. And mankind was full of sin with no way of ever being cleansed or with sin ever being removed from us. So Jesus bore that for us and took that exchange. And I am forever grateful, forever thankful for that. Yes, it does sound like a story that's like, you're right, but you know what? When you really just think about us even being here, being created, that seems like, you're right. You're like, why am I here? Oh my goodness, this is so like, wow. Okay, even the ability that mankind has, it's really, really amazing. Pardon me, freshen up my lips real quick. It's really, really amazing that the abilities we have, but we do know, or we should know, they did not come from us. They came from our Creator, and we are created in His image and in His likeness, and which means that we are created as very powerful beings, and we were created to reside and be and dwell with Him for eternity. We're also created as eternal beings, but because of our transgressions, our fallen nature, we were separated from Him. And then we became connected, unfortunately, to who is called the God of this world, who is evil, who is Satan, who is our adversary, and who is an enmity against God. God is holy, Satan is not. All right, so anyways, I am a Christian, all right? I'm a Christ follower. So I'm a child of God. And I know that God created mankind, and He created us in His image and in His likeness. And He does not value one human being above the other, which is why He equally sent Christ to redeem us all. Now, Christ is our free gift. It's a matter of believing and receiving. He is our free gift. So God is no respecter of persons. Therefore, there is no man, and when I say man, I mean mankind, man or woman. There is no one above the other. I don't care what ethnic group you come from. I don't care what country you live in. I don't care what year you were born, none, or what gender you were born as. That does not matter when it comes to your value as a human being. You are valued at the same level as everyone else that you see. Okay. And when you die, you go to one of two places. We all do, because we are eternal beings. Oh my goodness. I got that big crease on my forehead from that bonnet. I mean, I'm aging, but not wrinkling that bad. Anyways, yeah, so we go to one of two places. All right. And this is not like turning into a sermon. I'm just telling you where I stand, what my thoughts are. All right, so that leads me into not only am I a Christ follower, a child of God, I'm also a U.S. citizen. I'm an American citizen. I'm certified. My birth certificate's here from here. My social security number, I was born here in Columbus, Ohio. I mean, I am who I am, and that is the United States citizen. Okay. Also, I am a woman. My gender that I was born as and that I will remain as is a woman. I am also of African descent, African American. I have ancestors that were brought over from Africa to here to the United States. I also have some ancestors that came over from Europe to the United States. But the what do I say? Category or the ethnic group that I assimilate to and associate myself as is African American. And a lot of people just call us Black. So I'm a Black American. And I'm also a rural citizen here in the United States. So I live in a rural area. I happen to live in a rural area that used to be urbanized. So it kind of has an urban footprint and landscape to some degree. And there's like some remnants of the urban nature. However, it is rural now. It's rural in numbers, and some of that infrastructure has obviously gone by the wayside some. But it has a historical Black college there, and it has a over 25% African American population. So we, I would definitely consider us still kind of somewhat urban, but not all the way. Excuse me, y'all. My nose itching. Well, I hope I don't have a bug on camera. Wouldn't that be nasty? I would have to ditch this video. Okay, so I'm saying all of this to say that over here in the United States of America, I am free to be who I am. Not just because I'm in the United States of America. As a human being, I am free to think the way I think, believe what I believe. Now, I also need to make note that just because we think the way we think and believe that whatever we want to believe does not necessarily mean that what we think or what we believe is true, because there's only one truth. See, part truth is not truth. That's deception and lies. Okay, there are absolute truths that are just what they are. All right. So just because I choose to believe something doesn't mean that it's an absolute truth. And then I will also reap the consequences for me believing something that might not have been true. And I'll reap the blessings from believing something that was true and acting upon it in that way. So something that I want to talk about is when it comes to my African American descent, culture, all of that, it is no surprise, nor is it a secret that Africans over here in the United States were enslaved. They were enslaved. They were brought over here enslaved. Some believe that they were already here and then enslaved. But either way you slice it and dice it, they were enslaved people for the most part. You had some free men here and there, but the majority were enslaved. And that was horrible. It was horrendous. Slavery, unfortunately, was a practice for many, many, many centuries, years. It just had gone on for a long time, even in the Bible, in the holy books, back in the what we call the Old Testament. The Israelites, the Hebrew people, were enslaved in Egypt. So slavery was a horrible practice. And when it came over here to the United States and happened here, it just got even more horrendous. There was just a lot of evil, okay? Evil agendas. But that said, I do want to make a note and a mark that slavery did end. Praise God. It was abolished, and it was actually abolished under a party that was formed called the Republican Party by a president, Abraham Lincoln. And there's a Black man who was an abolitionist by the name of Frederick Douglass, who was a Republican. And I'm saying this to say that oftentimes Republicans nowadays get this horrible bad reputation as being racist. And I don't even like using that term. And the reason I don't like using that term is because I believe that there is only one human race. See, we are all the same. Now, culturally, we have differences. And this flesh suit that we live in, we have differences. But ultimately, we are a spirit. We're not this flesh. We are spirit beings with a soul that will live on eternally. We are eternal beings. We were breathed into from the very Spirit of God, who is an eternal being. Okay, so we will not die. We will live forever, either in life or in death, but we still exist forever through eternity. So these small things that we categorize ourselves and as and box ourselves into and all of that stuff are they're very small, very minute in the grand scheme of who we are. Because again, we are spirits with a soul that lives on somewhere forever, either in a good place or a bad place. So either in heaven with our Creator, who is holy and who is perfect, so we essentially go into paradise, or in hell with our adversary, who is evil and horrendous and grotesque and just a place that was not created for man. And I just wanted to point that out because oftentimes we tend to put way more emphasis on what this flesh looks like, what our differences in our flesh, the colors, the textures are, than we do in genders and all that, than we do into the fact that we are spirit beings that live forever. Okay? All right. So because I'm a child of God and I believe in Jesus Christ, that he's our Messiah, I believe that all lives are valued equally. Okay? So therefore, I don't buy into that narrative that someone is higher than me, that I'm lower than they are, that they're better than me. No. That rhetoric and that narrative is, in my opinion, it's an evil agenda that is used to oppress a group of people so that for control. Okay, I'm just going to keep it point blank, for control. And one thing that I learned in marketing, I went to college for marketing. That's what I graduated with my degree in. And then I opened up a marketing agency. And I've been practicing marketing for the past 8 years. And something that I learned, I've been practicing it for the past 8 years and been studying it for probably the past 12. But something that I learned is, it was actually one of the first things I learned. It's like kind of marketing 101 when you really get into the nitty gritty, the bolts and screws or whatever, the nuts and bolts, is they always tell you one of your best things to do, or one of your, something that's going to yield you the most profit or gain you the most people or captive audience, is to market to their pain. If you market to their pain and then you tell them, you tell them, hey, this is your pain. This is how you feel. This is why. And then you say, and this is how you want to feel. And this is what you want. This is what's holding you back. So you villainize somebody and make them like they're the problem. But this is what you really want. And then here's your solution. And it's always their solution, which their solution is supposed to get you out of that pain and into the pleasure point. But we know that there are evil people and evil agendas because we live in a fallen world. So people don't always use that for good. They actually seed and embed lies and narratives into your head to the point that you believe it. And when I say you, I mean you in general, so myself included. This is how marketing is with products, services, whatever. And everything is not a product. Sometimes it's just an idea that they want to market to you, to get you to believe so that they can control you to do what they want you to do. Ultimately, in marketing, they want you to buy their product, their service, or their idea. And so what they do is they press pain points, is what they're called, pain points. You find the pain points and you harp on it for a while. Then you move people to, oh, but this is what you want. And then this is how you get there. And it's our solution. And oftentimes their solutions are not the solution. Okay. So I'm going to give you an example of marketing gone bad. And I'm going to talk about, there's a specific fast food chain, McDonald's. McDonald's. Anyways, there's a specific fast food chain. And I noticed that I'll be watching TV and their commercial comes up. And they're all of these really good looking black people, this family, they're black family. And I mean, they look like they're middle class or upper middle class. They look good. They look all clean and fresh. It's a husband and a wife and their children. And they're like smiling. And they go into the restaurant and it's like they order the best looking food and they sit down and it almost looks like a dine in, like they're at a dine in restaurant, not a fast food. And so they have it just looking like, ooh, that's what I want. But what they don't tell you is, see, they painted a picture so that the picture looked good enough for you to accept it as that the product is good. But what they don't tell you is that the product is, oh my goodness, is filled with chemicals and stuff that not only chemicals or created things. I'm going to give an example, like the soda that we drink from these fast food restaurants have this high fructose corn syrup. That is so evil. There's nothing good about it, okay, at all. It doesn't even register in our body. If you're going to do bad, at least just keep it sugar, but not the high fructose. Anyways, so things like that, or that the chicken nuggets you're getting ready to consume are, they're all the same size. The reason they have the same shapes, there's only two shapes I've noticed. And the reason that they have those same shapes is because they're mechanically separated meat that come from like the rib and probably some bone cut up and everything cut up. And then it's pressed together, seasoned up with a lot of salt and stuff to make it taste good, pressed together and then served to you. But see, the look that they gave, that image that they gave, oh, and then they don't tell you that the patties that they use. If I'm not mistaken, I think only one burger on McDonald's menu is fresh beef. And I think it might be it's not the Big Mac, quarter pounder or something, maybe the quarter pounder. So they're not going to tell you that. See, what they don't want you to do, and what they know that you're probably not going to do, because they know who they're marketing to, that you won't go look at the nutritional value on the website, which is required. You can go to their website right now and you can pull up anything from their menu and you look at the nutritional value. And if you do that, you'll see that caramel frappe that you love so much, that I used to drink all the time, you'll see that it's like packed with calories and sugar beyond, I mean, crazy. I think the drink alone is probably 1,200 calories, and I'm making a strong assumption because I think I read that number somewhere on the website, but I'm not looking at it to give you accurate data on that. But what they're hoping that you never do is your research. Okay. And when it comes to the political stuff that goes on, what they're hoping that you never do is your research. They're hoping that you never find out that Republicans freed slaves, that they abolished slavery. It happened on the Republicans' watch. Okay. What Satan, who is the God of this world, who is the evil over this world, what he hopes that you never do is find out the truth about who your creator really is, which means who you are. Okay. They're hoping is keeping things secret and hidden and just pushing emotional points. They want you to be emotional so that you emotionally, that's what I learned in marketing. It's emotion is what makes people buy. So when you talk and speak to their emotions, then they actually act on it. Okay. So, of course they'll leave out all the good things because they want you to harp and do and be about the bad things. And with that said, what I'm going to do, because I'm really going into a really good segment, leading into some hard-hitting, truth-hitting facts when it comes to these elections, because we have an election coming up very, very soon. And the times that we're in, And if you are an African American, a Black person, yes, there has been a whole lot of injustice. There has been a whole lot of systemic oppression, but that's on purpose. There's a reason for that. And oftentimes, the one who's acting like they're your savior and they want to get you out, they're actually your oppressor. Did you hear me? Most of the time, see, that's what deception is. It seems good. There's a way that seems right into a man, but the path, it leads to destruction. So there's a way that seems right. It seems right around election time to start to bring up Black Lives Matter, okay? To amplify this. Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter. There's so much injustice. They want to amplify that to get you to vote emotionally. When if you do your research and you really look at the two parties, you look at the two, not only the two people running, obviously, but the two parties that they represent, and you look at the policies, the chances of you thinking differently heavily increase when you really just step back and you look at the policies. When you look at, as an African American, okay, the Republican Party freed the slaves, abolished slavery. Wow, okay. And then when you look at things like this current administration that we have, and we can all agree, everybody's like, well, it's the way he says things. Yes, I get it. He can have jerkish personality ways, and some people are very offended by it. Some of it I write off as just his personality, good or bad, to whomever is their personal opinion. But some of it also, I look at it, is this cultural for him? The area he grew up in, the era he grew up in. So some things we need to not be so emotionally driven and so easily offended, and really just do our research. But speaking of this current administration, the Trump administration, I had to do my research and see that the stats for what they are. The stats, the statistics, okay? The statistics say that around 200,000 African American men and women have been released out of prison for these low rate crime things. You know, these low crimes that they did, and they were just in prison, disproportionately imprisoned for evil acts that was actually pushed through by predecessors, okay? Predecessors from another party too, okay? That was singing a totally different song several years back, okay? Because you have to remember that these politicians often have been politicians their whole career. They made a career out of being a politician. Our current president is not a politician, okay? So there's a difference. All right, so 200,000 African American men and women back home, out of prison, so able to go get acclimated back into society, be there in their homes, be fathers and be mothers to their children, be there to support their family, be there to support the economy. I mean, that's amazing, okay? Also, I look at our historical Black colleges, and more money has been given to our historical Black colleges from this current administration than any other president, okay? And I personally know this from I have a strong affiliation, or have in the recent past, with my alma mater, which is a historical Black college. So I know some numbers, I know some facts to be true. All right, and then let's move on to unemployment for African Americans, the lowest it had ever been prior to this COVID, obviously, but the lowest, okay? All right, so let's move on to with our communities. These, they're called Oh goodness, why did I just have a mind block? Opportunity zones. This is opportunity zones are opportunities to where you can get huge tax breaks and incentives from investors to invest into your community. And maybe you're that investor and you're African American. To invest into our communities, okay? Because over 50% of the opportunity zones are in minority communities, which means a lot of African Americans and Latino communities. So, the list goes on. The list truly does go on. And it's just really good to do our research and realize that welfare, while it is a good thing, it's good to help people in times of need, help people get through transition phases. It's not meant to be a career and a lifelong dependency. Because I'm going to tell you from my personal experience, when you're on welfare, see, you're capped out. You can only do so much. You can only go so high. And the way the system is set up and the way human psyche is set up is that if we get something for free, we tend to want to just keep getting something for free. So what happens is instead of us trying to go beyond that and pushing the envelope to do more, we'll get complacent and to just keep taking it and receiving a handout. Meanwhile, we're looking at other people thrive and we're getting upset because we're not there. So the way the welfare system is set up is you can only make so much money. You can only have so many people in your household. They favorably lean toward the single mother with children, and rightfully so. If there's a single mother with children, obviously she would need more aid than if there were a man in the house. But at the same time, it's not encouraged to have a man in the house. So then you're always behind the eight ball. I know this from personal experience. I'm not talking about anything I don't know about that I haven't lived. I've been there, done that. Wore the t-shirt, okay? So I'm just saying, a lot of times when you look at a conservative viewpoint, the picture is painted that they're evil. They're just rich, evil people who don't want to help out the low guy, the poor guy. That is so not true. That is not true. Now, is that true for some? Obviously, because there's evil people in the world and evil agendas all around. But on the grand scheme, no, it's not. That is not true. It's about favoring the entrepreneur, the person who has the guts, the gusto to get out there and to create something and to hire people, to employ people, to invest in their communities and into their neighborhoods. That's what it's about. It's not about a socialist or a communist agenda where everybody, no matter how hard you work, no matter what you do, it's all equal. No, that's not what it's about. It's not what it's about. It's about a capitalist free market mindset to where you get out here. It's called the American dream. You take nothing and you turn it into something. And no one can stop you from doing that but you. That's what we fight for, our freedom to do. And then if you are a good person, a good moral person, and if you're a Christian, then you tithe, you give money, you tithe and give offerings to your church community, to your church, which then turns around and takes care of the poor, takes care of the needy, takes care of the homeless, feeds the homeless, gives shelter. See, so then it becomes this amazing ecosystem of good. But when you have these glitches and you have people with evil agendas, then it doesn't always work out that way. But see, that doesn't stop people like you and me from doing the right thing and boxing them out. But it'll never happen under a socialist or a communist agenda. Okay? That's just not the way it is. That's why this is called America, people. And that's why it's an American dream. And that's why so many people want to be over here for freedom. See, there's things that they don't talk about. They talk about, this President Trump wants to have build a wall. Well, do you know that one, when you look at deportation, do you realize that actually our President Barack Obama, whom I did vote for his first term. I really did. I voted for him because he was black. I was like, yes, this is what we need. He seemed to have a good image of a black man with this amazing family, and he was talking the right things. And I was like, yes. Now, the second term, I did not vote for him because he pivoted. He switched lanes on some topics and some things that I thought he was solid on, and then he switched over, and I was like, no. I can't switch with you. I want somebody who's going to stay the course on what they said and stay solid. Nevertheless, I did vote for him. And, wow, where was I going with this? Hold on. I don't know. I have to come back to that. Yeah, I'll definitely have to come back to that. But point being, what I'm really saying is we need to do our research and quit persecuting and being evil towards people who have a different opinion than we do. Allow people a space to say how they feel and quit getting so angry. Because really, what are you getting angry for? You don't know these people personally. They are not your friends, okay? They're not your friends. Believe me, they have conversations behind closed doors that you will never hear. So your allegiance needs to be to the policies, not to the personalities, okay? You need to step back. And when I say you need to, obviously it's your opinion and it's your right to choose what you want. So I'm not telling you to do anything. I'm just saying it just in a generalized statement. What we should do is take a look at policies and really see what's really going on. And see who's trying to take advantage of who. And what are we getting in return? See, what we fight for is freedom. Because after all, this is the land of the free and the home of the brave. A lot of men and women have given their lives for our freedom. And that's black men and women, white men and women, over here in this soil. Latino men and women. People have fought for our country. People have fought for our freedom. And even as it relates to African Americans, black and white people fought for our freedom to not be slaves anymore, any longer. So we really need to take a look at that. Be honest about who we are and where we are and why we're here. And stop persecuting those who think differently and who do research. And don't be so emotionally manipulated and swayed to go in a direction that someone else is enticing you to go in. And they're not giving you the full story. They're not telling you everything. Oh, it was about the walls. So the walls getting built. But see, what people don't know is, like I said, President Obama, actually, he deported the most illegal people coming over here than any other president in U.S. history. Not President Trump, President Obama. President Trump's nowhere near at the number in his 4 years. Okay. So these are, again, numbers you need to know. So people don't know that President Trump signed a bill against trafficking, child trafficking. I think the largest that's ever been. See, what you don't realize is a lot of this wall stuff, a lot of children are being abducted and are being trafficked for sex, for sacrifice, for a whole lot of evil agendas. And it's happening in Mexico. It's happening here in the United States. People are coming up missing, babies, children, small children, for evil agendas. So do your research. It is not that this man hates anybody who doesn't look like him. No. It's that you probably haven't done your research. Or if you have, you only looked from one angle. Be non-biased for a moment and look at all angles. Because when someone does honest research, they don't just look at one angle and just take one narrative. So yeah, really, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. And the Black Lives Matter, Black lives to me don't matter until all Black lives matter. And I mean that as in the abortion numbers. And I can speak on this topic of abortion because I have had an abortion. And I'm here to tell you it's not fun. And the agony, the torment, the shame that you live with after is horrible. Now, thank God I've been forgiven and I've been set free, and I know that my baby is in heaven. I know that. But it doesn't erase how I felt and what I went through. Yes, I was young. I already had a child and I was afraid. I didn't feel like or believe that I had that support around me of somebody to talk to or to understand. It was my choice, but it was a choice I made not knowing all of the end results and the consequences. Because see, you're kind of led to believe that, it's just the early stage. You haven't even had, you're less than 3 months or whatever. It's not no. This is a spirit, soul, human being that could have had an opportunity to live here and to live out their God-given potential, their purpose. I could have been carrying the next invention, the next brilliant mind, the next freedom fighter. But I aborted my child. And in the last 50 years, 20 million African American babies in the United States here have been aborted. That's around 1,000 per day. 80% of the abortion clinics are in African American communities. Tell me that's not a setup. Okay? In New York City, right now, if you see an African American woman in New York City pregnant, the chances are higher of her aborting the baby than delivering, because the abortion rate is higher for African Americans there than the birth rate. Right now, the African American population has flatlined. It has not increased. It has flatlined. I don't know about you, but I want more Black babies here in the United States. I want us to go above 12% in population. There's no reason we should not have, other than we're killing our babies and being told it's okay. And then that's not to mention the murders that we're killing each other on the streets. And no one talks about that. No one talks about the real high, what is it? Rate, or the number one killer of Black people, the number two killer of Black people. What about the poison that's in the food? What about that? The poison that's in our communities. So this whole Black Lives Matter that, and against the police, come on. Don't get me wrong. Please don't misinterpret. Every life matters, and a murder is a murder is a murder. And no, I don't believe that a lot of these men and women that are getting murdered by law enforcement, I don't believe that it's right. No, I don't. I do believe that there needs to be a system set up in place that when these law enforcement, if they do act outside of their right or what they're legally responsible for doing, that they need to be dealt with accordingly. But at the same time, I'm not going to highlight that the 10 deaths that they put in my face over the 1,000 per day of the babies that they don't put in my face, or of the murders going on in these major cities and these inner cities that they don't put in my face, or these innocent children who are innocent bystanders in all of this rioting stuff and these murders and stuff in these cities, that children are being murdered and I don't even hear about it. Come on. Someone has to step up and be a voice for the child, for the ones who don't have a voice. So Black Lives Matter, and people talking about, I believe that a woman has a right to do whatever she chooses with her body. Well, hold on. What do you mean by that? No one's trying to control what someone does with their body. They're just trying to protect a life that has been conceived. So it's all on how things are pivoted and how it's pitched to us. And it's packaged, just like Satan does. It's packaged nicely. Oh, it's not harmful. Yeah, not until you do the numbers and find out how many Black Americans have been murdered because of abortion, and that the African American population has flatlined, and that the abortion clinics are disproportionately placed in our communities, 80% of them. Tell me that's not genocide. And then people say, well, they couldn't take care of their child. I heard a man, a Black man, he was on stage and he grew up in foster care. His mom had 9 children by 6 different men. And he said they were in foster care. His mom, she couldn't afford them. I think she was on drugs. And I think she had mental health issues. And he was talking to somebody about his life, and they were like, oh man, it's kind of messed up. It's probably been better that you weren't born, so you wouldn't have had to go through all that in foster care. And he said that he was like, hold on. Just because my mom didn't have money, just because my mom was broke, didn't mean I got to die. He said, there's somebody that wanted to take care of me. And see, that's when I go back to being a Christ follower. And when we are the church, see, the church is supposed to be a place for people, to help people, kind of like a hospital, a healing place, a nurturing place. So when we as Christians have a church, we tithe our money and our offerings, then the church is able to go out into the community and do things like take care of the poor, feed those in hunger, give shelter to those who need it. So that's important. That is very important, that we stay true to who we are and remember who we are and remember the God of our ancestors, the one who delivered us out of slavery. He is not a murderer, okay? There's evil in the land that creates murder, but God gives life, okay? So I'm not with all of that rhetoric. I'm not. I'm not for pandering votes to keep Blacks and minorities and women in fear, to feel oppressed, to feel like somebody's trying to hurt us and harm us. Yes, there's evil in the world. There's evil people who look like me that I can't trust. There's good people who look like me that I can trust. There's just evil in the world. But pandering for votes and keeping people oppressed is unacceptable to me. Totally unacceptable. And then as a woman, the way that they create this narrative that men are evil. Like, men are evil now? Really? You're talking about our husbands now? Now, there are some men who have done evil acts. Yes. There are some who have taken advantage of their power and done evil acts. Yes. But we're talking about our husbands here. We're talking about our children. Like, how? Tell me how I carry a baby in my belly, a boy. That's my baby boy. I birth him. I raise him. He loves his mom. I love my son. And then all of a sudden, he's my oppressor? No. No. So that narrative is it's wrongfully spun because it leans heavy on one thing. It takes the bad and the fear that, oh, you're going to be oppressed by a man, to make everybody feel like we're going to be oppressed by a man. Have I seen some men do some evil things? Absolutely. I've seen white men do some evil things. Yes, I have. I've seen Black men do some evil things. Yes, I have. Yes. But what I fight for and what I stand for here in the United States of America is freedom. Freedom. Freedom to choose. Now, everything that I'm saying is totally up to you. But what I am asking is that stop persecuting your fellow neighbor because they think differently. Stop boisterously having ridiculous attitudes towards someone because they think different. Okay? Especially if they're not coming from a place of hate. Everything is not hate. Some stuff is just choice. And somebody looked at the policies and said, oh, I choose these policies over these policies. It's not about a personality. And when it comes to our current administration, or our current president for that matter, Donald J. Trump, yeah, a lot of people would agree. He's got kind of a jerkish personality. But a lot of people also agree that, no offense to my New York friends and people who've grown up there, live there. But if you're a Southerner, you kind of look at Northerners like they're a little bit direct. They're more matter of fact. Sometimes they can come off a little brash and sometimes they can come off a little bullyish. But if you really get to know them, you start to realize that you shouldn't be so offended because culturally and subculturally, things can just be different. I'm going to tell you this. I often, when I go through the drive-through of a restaurant, and there's an African-American woman in particular, an African-American female on the other side, she's working the drive-through. It sounds like she has an attitude with me, like she's got a bad attitude. How can I help you? It's just like, and if I get offended, I missed it. Because what happens is when I get up to the window, she might not have the best happy-go-lucky customer service. But what I've had to learn is to not get offended because people grow up differently. People just grow up in different environments. Some environments you have to be more direct, a little rude, a little guarded or whatever, because that's the environment you grew up in. So sometimes we need to not be so easily offended and take everything that somebody says as, oh, they're just being, well, maybe they're just being them and they're just not your cup of tea, but their policies might actually fit your beliefs. So I'm just going to leave it at that. There's few other things that I did want to get into. But for the most part, I got it. I really hit those points. And so we're coming up on this election and we're getting ready to see who's going to be in here for the next 4 years. And I ask you to definitely vote your conscience. Most importantly, pray. Ask God where he's at, what he wants. And look at the policies and see what's right. Which one is more right? Because, we live in a flawed world. So some people say it's like voting for the lesser of the two evils. Okay? And remember what I told you about marketing. What I learned. It's all true. Don't be the person that gets played. Be the person who thinks and does your own research. Think for yourself. And vote for your grandchildren. Your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren. Vote for the America that you want for them. Okay? And get out here and make it happen. All righty. Talk to you later. Good talking to y'all, actually. It's been a while. And I hope to do this soon. See ya.